Okay, this is probably take 4 or 5 trying to record this video. I'm hopeful that I'm able to get all of the video this time. But essentially, I'm going to be comparing the ASICS Superblast 2 with the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. I think these two shoes are kind of getting a lot of comparisons for 2024 retrospectives right now. A lot of people comparing the Superblast 2 with the Nova Blast 5. And me, I don't think that that's really an apt comparison. I think that the two shoes are meant for two different things. One is more of a daily trainer in the Nova Blast 5, and the Superblast 2 is really more of a speed work, long run shoe. So I've really started to kind of think about how I might want to start this channel and do comparisons that I think are more appropriate, at least to start, versus what I've seen so far online. So the Superblast 2 versus the Speed 4, I think it really just depends on what you're trying to do out of your run. If you're trying to get just a sort of quick run in, maybe 4 miles of speed work, I think the Endorphin Speed 4 is probably a better shoe for that specific purpose. But if you're looking to do something that's more geared toward the long run side of things, and you want to run more than 4 miles, that's where I think the Superblast 2 is a great shoe. Both of these can handle speed work, but this one is just really more geared toward that speed run and workout session. It has a nylon plate, and so you really do feel off of the forefoot toe off a lot more pop and feedback from the midfoot, and you don't really get that as much with this shoe. But believe it or not, the Speed 4 is heavier than the Superblast 2. And so despite this being a heavier shoe, I actually do find it to be faster for speed work. I've looked at my times on Strava and found that I'm running a little bit faster in this shoe compared to this one. So the Superblast 2, although it is a fast and lighter shoe, it's not a faster shoe. It's not as, I'd say, nimble as the Endorphin Speed 4. Saucony have really hit it out of the park with the Endorphin Speed 4. This is probably my second favorite iteration of the Endorphin Speed series. For me, and I've tried every Endorphin Speed series shoe. From the very first original. Here's the original. This is my favorite by far. This shoe is the one that kind of started everything for me in terms of just daily running. This is the one that I really reach for most days. So much that I had to really dial back the amount of running I was doing in this shoe, because the nylon plate, while it's good, I feel like it's probably not the best thing for you to be running on every day. So I kind of had to stop with the daily runs in a nylon plated shoe. And the Speed 2, I found it to be very quick, but I didn't get the same sort of sensation from the toe off. I don't know if they changed the formulation in the Power Run PB foam. You can see it's sort of like a beaded PBA foam, almost a lot similar to Ultra Boost. The way that the little beads are sort of squished together to give you this really soft sensation. I think this is what Ultra Boost was kind of trying to do when it was first released. Saucony really figured out what needed to be done with Power Run PB, where Ultra Boost kind of, I'd say, missed the mark. And so that made this a much, I would say, better shoe for speed workouts. When it came to daily runs, like I was saying, the more that I ran in the Speed 1, I found that I was more prone to injury. This shoe doesn't have a lot of stability. If you take a look at the back of it, it's pretty narrow in the heel, especially. And with this geometry, the way that it's set up, you're going to eventually, when you get tired, roll your ankle in it. Doesn't change the fact that it's a great shoe. I love this shoe. But I do find that the more that I ran in it, the more prone to injury I was. And so I had to pair it with some other version of a daily trainer. And at the time, I think I was using the Ride 13 from Saucony. And so that turned out to be a great pairing. But these days, a lot of these super trainers that they're calling these shoes, they don't really lend themselves to swapping out with other shoes, or at least you don't have to do that. And so when the Speed 3 came out, this one here, you can see that the platform is way wider, and it's almost as if the Power Run PB kind of cradles the heel. And so with this shoe, I actually did find it to be a much more daily trainer focused shoe. It wasn't really great for speed runs, so you can see I didn't get nearly the amount of mileage out of this shoe that I got with the others. So not to say that the Speed 3 wasn't great, it just wasn't really a speedy shoe for me. And so when the Speed 4 released, it really felt as if Saucony kind of hit their stride in terms of the geometry of the shoe. It's still very much a wide platform in the back now. And the way that this nylon plate is centered. They did change the geometry of the nylon plate. I don't think it runs the full length of the sole like it used to, but it's a much more intentional use of the nylon plate. It is heavier than the original Speed 1. I think it might be a little bit heavier than the Speed 3, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% certain. But in showing you all of these versions of the Endorphin Speed series, I mean, the whole point is to say that I've tried every version of them. I've seen every iteration of the Endorphin Speed series, and despite everyone online kind of touting the Speed 2 as the very best that Saucony ever had with the Endorphin Speed lineup, like I said, I never felt as if I was getting the same kind of pop and sort of joyful sensation when running in it that I did in the original Endorphin Speed. And so because of that, I kind of felt like when the Speed 4 came out, I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted to get a shoe that would be a good sort of speed work shoe, but I was expecting it to be more of a daily trainer. I really was expecting it to do mostly just daily miles. But I found that it was not only fast, but also protective. In the new geometry in the back, the way that it cradles your foot is different from, say, the Speed 3, but it did turn out to be more versatile. I could do speed work in this and daily miles. The problem, though, is when you try to get into those daily miles where you're running a little bit longer than you might for speed workout, I still found that the geometry on this one wasn't quite protective. And so I did roll my ankle a couple times running in this shoe. So because of all that, I kind of started to look into the Superblast series because it was said to be a good speedwork shoe that could handle daily miles, especially long runs. And so I went online a while back in 2023, I think, and got a hold of the sort of garish salmon colored version of the Superblast 1. The problem with this shoe, though, was that out of the box, it felt dead. It was just a giant slab of Piba foam, and this FF Turbo is what they call the foam that they're using here. It's very stiff. Even now, with about 300 miles on this shoe, it's very difficult to try to flex this. And so it's very much a resilient, durable shoe. It doesn't have any issues with breaking down on the sole. I did find though that it was kind of dead out of the box. The more I ran in it though, the more I started to see that it was a good daily trainer and speed work shoe, kind of an all-around shoe that could do everything, but wasn't really great at any one specific thing. So I got more and more out of this shoe the more that I ran in it. Probably about 30 miles in is when I started to feel like, wow, this is something special. The foam started to soften. I started to really dial in the fit. I had to change out the laces on this because the original laces were just too thin, and I wasn't getting the kind of lockdown that I needed. I was getting a lot of heel slip out of the back, and so that was annoying. I did also find that the upper fit was really, really roomy in the toe box, and so it was kind of difficult to get the right fit out of this shoe. But that Piba foam, the FF Turbo, it really was the secret sauce to this shoe. It's what made me want to keep putting this on instead of the Speed 3 at the time. But once 2024 hit, that's when the Superblast 2 was released, and this shoe took care of pretty much every gripe that I had with the previous Superblast. The way that this mesh upper breathes, but also is more form-fit to your foot. I didn't find my feet kind of swimming around in the toe box like I used to, and I also found that when I laced it up, I didn't need new laces. I still have the original laces on here, and so the formulation of this FF Turbo Plus foam, they're calling it, it did change slightly. Right out of the box, it was fun to run in. I didn't have any issues with heel slip. I didn't have problems with it feeling kind of dead as I'm running in it. It actually was a good shoe. And so I kind of looked at it like, wow, they've made this a better shoe. And as I'm running in the Speed 4 at the time, I actually found these to be very comparable in terms of the use cases I could use these shoes for. But the longer I would run on the Speed 4, the more that I felt the foam bottoming out. And with this shoe, I really didn't get that sensation. There's a lot of foam right in the forefoot, whereas with the Speed 4, it actually gets a little bit thin toward the forefoot. Don't get me wrong, you get plenty of power and PB throughout the shoe entirely, but the longer you're on your feet in this shoe, the more you're going to feel like this power and PB starts to bottom out. And I think that's the big gripe that I've had with this shoe forever, is that after about 150 miles, I think that the liveliness or just the responsiveness of this shoe changes, and so it's not as poppy and joyful to run in after about 150 miles. It's a shoe that'll take you up to 300 miles. I mean, you can get a lot of life out of it, but you're not going to get the same sensation as you did when you got it right out of the box. Whereas with the Superblast 2, right out of the box, I started to feel like this is different and more durable compared to the Speed 4. I can go for 10-mile runs, longer than my typical run, which is usually about 5 miles. I can double up on the mileage with this shoe and feel really good, not feel as if my legs are in danger in any way, or my ankles specifically. I find that the platform that you run on really does cradle the heel. I'm more of a mid to forefoot striker, but I don't worry about rolling my ankle when I get tired. When I tend to get tired is when my sort of mid to forefoot strike starts to shift and become more of a heel strike, and that's when injuries can happen, for me at least. And so I found that this was a more protective shoe, honestly. So when I put this shoe on, I really feel protected and excited to go run in it. Whereas with the Speed 4, I think that I have to just be more sort of intentional about what I'm doing with it. I can't really just lace it up and then run endlessly in it. I need to kind of do a speed work session, maybe 5 miles at the most, and then I need to kind of dial it back and head home with it. As I start to increase my mileage, and I hope that with this channel I'll start to be able to share that with you guys, me moving from the 5 to 10 mile range into the 10 to 20 mile range, and hopefully to the marathon sort of mileage level. And maybe I will be a little bit more efficient in my stride, but for somebody that's more of a hobbyist like me, I felt like I could help somebody pick the right shoe between these two. And if I had to recommend one, I'm going to go with the Superblast, only because it's more durable. It's going to last you 400, maybe even 500 miles. Whereas with this shoe, I think after about 300 miles, you're probably going to be ready to replace it, maybe turn it into just like a daily wear casual shoe. By the way, this shoe is really fun to walk in. It's a great shoe for walking, whereas with the original Speed, I felt like when I would walk in this shoe, I was feeling awkward. It didn't feel right. So this shoe it's a good shoe. It's $170. It's cheaper than the Superblast 2, and you can find it in any store. So if you really just want to get speed work, I do find that this is faster and more nimble. So it's a little bit more geared toward that sort of quick, light-footed runner. But if you're a heavier runner, you know maybe are around the 160 pound and over mark, this shoe is also going to be speedy. It's more lightweight than this one, but the downside, of course, is that it's harder to find. I had to wait 2 months to get my hands on this one, and I got lucky when I found it on, I think it was Running Warehouse that I got this one. This one, I walked right into a Fleet Feet and was able to kind of just pick it up right away, try it right out of the box. There was no break-in with either one of these shoes, so if break-in period is something that you're worried about with either of these, I don't think you can really go wrong with either. This one's more expensive though, $200, and it's harder to find. But if you're going to spend $170 on a running shoe, I feel like if you're worried about the longevity of the shoe, you really want to get the most out of it, you might as well spend the extra $30, get this one, and you can't go wrong. Now with either shoe, again, like I said, you're going to have fun. It's going to be worth the money spent. But if I had to really pick one for getting the most out of the money that you're spending, I really feel like there's a lot of value in this one. You can run on this thing endlessly. I've heard of folks keeping their Superblast for multiple years at a time, getting lots and lots of miles out of them. Whereas this one, you are going to bottom out with it eventually. You will feel a difference. And so when that difference comes is when you're going to feel as if, man, maybe I should have just gone the Superblast route. If you have to only pick one out of the two, I'm going to go for the Superblast 2. But again, like I said, they're both really good shoes. If you wanted to do just speed work and you just want to get out there and run the day that you pick up the shoe, this is probably a better shoe because it's more available, it's cheaper, and you can try it on right away. This one, I don't have any complaints about the fit, and so I don't worry so much about ordering just whatever your size. I think it's true to size. When you put it on, it's going to feel like a size 10 or 11, whatever size you are, it's going to feel like the right size. So as long as you can get your hands on it, this will be a good shoe. This one, though, it's more available. It's also true to size, and so I never had any complaints about the fit of it. I will say that the lacing system I didn't really like with this year's version. The lace seems to bunch up the more that I would tighten up this shoe. So in terms of the upper, I prefer this one. In terms of the fit, I prefer this one. In terms of daily miles, if I wanted to not do just speed work, I can do more with this shoe. And because it's non-plated, I don't worry as much about my leg getting fatigued in places that a typical running shoe wouldn't fatigue. With any plated shoe, I do feel that even with a plastic sort of nylon plate, I'm putting a little bit more stress on like the soleus and calf area of my leg. So this one is better for daily training than the Speed one. Don't get me wrong, but I do feel like if I wanted to just run in one shoe and not have to worry about having a companion shoe to run with it, this thing is awesome. This thing is so good. I do enjoy running in this more than with the Speed 4. So that's my take on this shoe. Appreciate you guys for listening for as long as you may have. If you're still here, thank you so much. I'm going to try to keep getting more and more videos out. I will do as many as I can. Look, I've run in every version of the Endorphin series, the Speed series I should say, or the Superblast. I've run in every version of those shoes. So from a hobbyist perspective, that is certainly something that I have some experience with, and I feel like it's a good comparison. The Superblast versus the Endorphin Speed. These are comparable speed workout shoes, and for me, it's the Superblast that I would pick if I had to go with one. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Please stick with the channel. I'm going to keep on uploading more videos, and we'll see what else we can get up to in 2025. Thanks.